Hey everyone, welcome back to Commander Tax. I'm Adam, and this is a new series I'm calling Commander Dive. This is a series where we look at a commander each week, and we take an interesting and unique look at ways to build it. Today's episode is on Bria Riptide Rogue, who's 2, a blue, and a red pip. It's a legendary otter rogue that has prowess. Other creatures you control have prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, a target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. So what's the interesting or different idea that we're using here? Well, since it's giving our creatures prowess, we're not going to focus on it. There are several creatures that do have prowess, but the idea around this deck is actually to copy our spells as much as possible or make them free to cast so that we basically have multiple triggers that way. And then we're going to swing in with huge damage and we're going to get a ton of value. The new cards that we're going to add to this deck would be something like Pearl of Wisdom. It's a 2 and a blue, but most likely you're going to control an otter because this has a lot of otters in it. It's going to be 1 and a blue, and you're going to draw 2 cards for 2, which isn't bad. Next up is Alania Divergent Storm. This card can be crazy if it hits right. So it reads, whenever you cast a spell, if it's the first instant spell, the first sorcery spell, or the first otter spell, other than Alania you've cast this turn, you may have target opponent draw a card. If you do copy that spell, you may choose new targets for the copy. So what you're really hoping for here is like Breach of the Multiverse, a 7 cost, giant spell that you get to copy and use yourself. This could be really game winning for you in the right situation, or it could just provide a ton of value. Next up, we have Stormcatch Mentor, who has haste, prowess, instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less. So this is like the electrostatic goblin, I believe that's the right name, but this is got prowess on it, on top of it. So I actually like this a little bit more, and it's also got haste, so it can serve more than one function, and it still gives you that cost reduction. Next up, we have Tempest Angler, who is a worse version of the electrostatic infantry. However, being that it has that otter keyword, it's going to make it really good for this deck, and it's just another effect like that. That reads, put a 1/1 counter on this whenever you cast a non-creature spell. So those are the new cards that we're looking at. Let's get into kind of more what we're thinking we're going to do with this deck. So the first thing is going to be Lila, Undefeated Slickshot, who has prowess, and whenever you cast a multicolored instant or sorcery spell from your hand, exile that spell instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, it becomes plotted. So what is plotted? Plotted normally means you pay a cost, and then you can play it for free on a future turn. In this case, because we have Lila, you're going to cast that spell, and then it becomes plotted. So you're going to get it this turn, and then the next turn as well. A really strong card for this deck. Moving on, we have Stellarly Wild Card. So because we're going to be copying so many spells, reaching this threshold of, if 3 or more spells shouldn't be real tough. Basically, all we need to do is cast 2 spells because we're going to copy 1 and we're going to have at least 3 spells. If we copy 2 of them, that's 4 spells. It's really easy to get this, and we're going to be able to copy it an additional time. So, and then whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you can exile the top card of your library and you can play that card. So a little bit of impulse card draw as well. Next up, we have Veyron, Voice of Duality. This is a very common card in a lot of Spellslinger decks that reads, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, this card gets a +1/+1 until end of turn. If you casting or copying instant or sorcery spell causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control a trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So our electrostatic infantry and our otter, they're going to get, as well as this, are going to get additional 1/1 counters on them. So just good threats on the board, and this just doubles the potential of those cards. Next up, we have Balmor Battlemage Captain. It's a blue and a red pip, so really cheap. It's just a 1/3, but whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain trampled till end of turn. So this is going to give us a lot of value because we're going to be casting 3 or 4 spells every turn. So we're going to get our creatures pumped up and swing even harder, and because of our commander, they're not going to even be blockable. All right, next up we have several token generators that we would add, but here's an interesting one that a lot of people aren't playing, I believe. Iris Roar of the Storm, and it costs 10. So it's 8, a blue, and a red. However, this spell costs 2 less to cast for each different mana value among instant and sorcery spells in your graveyard. The thing is, this isn't really hard to do to get at least 3 different cost ones under there. So if you get 3, then it's only going to cost 7. It's got flying, prowess, and it's a 4/4, so there's probably enough value there. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn too, and because we're casting so many, this isn't going to be hard. You're going to get a 4/4 dragon with flying and prowess, which that's really what we're trying to do. This is just a cool card that's not seeing a lot of play. Next up, we have Mana Geyser. So this is going to be, we're going to have several rituals in this deck. So this is going to give us big mana to cast a lot of different stuff. To, you know, even if we don't get our copies, we're still going to be able to cast 2 or 3 spells each turn, no problem with things like this. All right, next up is another new card, Jace Reawakened. You can't cast this on your first, second, or third turn. However, it's got this ability that's +1. You may exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your hand. If you do, it becomes plotted. So you're going to, every turn, as long as you can defend this, you can plot a card. And then it allows you to have a future turn that is really big. So you can plot like 3 or 4 cards and then play those all on one turn. Hopefully then swing in with a bunch of unblockables, a bunch of prowess triggers, and win the game. So that's the idea here. I honestly, like, if I don't, the only other thing I've used Jace Reawaken for is the draw a card, then discard a card. I don't even look at this ultimate. I don't know that I've ever done it. Not that it's bad. It's just really this second ability is what I like to use with him. The ultimate does read, until end of turn, whenever you cast a spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Next up, we have Double Vision. So this is one of those cards that is going to just be an enchantment that's going to allow us to double up our spells. Okay, here's another fun card that isn't seeing a lot of play right now, is Kylock's Visionary Inventor. It's got Menace, Ward 2, and Haste. So yes, it's a 7, but at least it comes in with Haste. It's got Menace, and it's not going to be easy to remove. So whenever it attacks, you sacrifice any number of other creatures. So we have a bunch of token generators in this deck. Then you would exile the top X cards of your library. X is their total power. You may cast any number of instant sorcery spells from among the exile cards without paying their mana cost. So if you have a token generator and you have 5 tokens, you drop this in, you sack all 5, you're going to draw 5 cards, and you're going to cast all of them for free. You're probably going to create 5 more tokens. You're going to get 5 prowess triggers, and this really will help you just to win the game. Next up, we have Melik Reforged Researcher. So if we're casting all these spells, this is a good way to get some value with having them in the graveyard. The first instant sorcery spell costs 3 less to cast on top of it, but his power and toughness are equal to the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. So really underrated card that's not seeing a lot of play. That honestly I skipped over in this set when I saw it first. So this is definitely something I want to draw more attention to. Temur Battle Rage is another instant. Target creature gains double strike till end of turn. That creature also gains trample. So if you have a bunch of prowess effects, this is going to be a great finisher card till end of turn. Creature power 4 or greater. So yeah, so if you can pump up your prowess creature up to 4, this is also going to make it so that they have trample. All right, and then we have Case of the Ransacked Lab. Again, another cost reduction for our instants and sorcery spells. If we can get 4 instants, which in this deck isn't going to be super hard, we're going to solve this, and then anytime we cast an instant or sorcery spell, we're going to refill our hand. So this is going to give us a lot more gas. Electrostatic Infantry, we already talked about this card. All right, here's another fun card, the 12th Doctor. So 12th Doctor is 3, a blue, and a red. And the first card, or first spell you cast from anywhere other than your hand each turn has Demonstrate. So anytime you copy a spell, you're going to demonstrate. So you're going to copy it again. Basically, you cast it again, and then another person at the table casts it as well. So even if it's something simple like a Brainstorm, you're getting 2 triggers. They're just getting the Brainstorm, right? So you're getting the prowess, and then you're getting the additional effect. And then you're going to put a counter on this guy. So again, you're going to double those counters if you can get the Veyron out. All right. Next up, we have Crom Violent Cacophony. This is just a fun card. I don't know how good this is. There's something about it. The flavor, the fact that it's a flying zombie. I love this card. It says it's flying zombie for 4. It says whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a 1/1 counter on it and draw a card. So nothing super spectacular. I just love this card. All right, so let's look at some of the spells that we'll be slinging here. All right, so the first one we have is Sleight of Hand. This is just kind of a worse ponder, but it's a 1. It only costs 1, so it's a great card to have. Snap it costs 2. You get to return a creature to your opponent's hand, and then in addition to that, you get to untap 2 lands. So basically, it's free. Next up, we have Serum Visions. You draw a card, and then you can scry, so you can kind of dig down through your deck with this. Ponder, which we just everyone knows. You top 3 cards, you put them back in the order, draw a card, or you can shuffle and then draw a card. We have Opt, another scry 1, draw a card. Here's a new one, Brain Surge. So you have Brainstorm, and now you have Brain Surge. So Brain Surge says draw 4 cards. So it's for 3 mana, you get to draw 4, and then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So basically, you get to scry 2 and draw 2. It's a great card. Next up, Lightning Strike, just a little bit of damage, just a low-cost spell. Next up, we have Shore Up. Target creature you control gets 1/1 and hexproof, so a little bit of protection. You can tap it. And then we have Grape Shot. So any Storm deck needs Grape Shot. Basically, for each instant sorcery spell, regardless of whether they're copied spells or they're spells you're paying for out of your hand, you're going to get, for each one of those, you're going to get to do 1 damage. So a great card if you can really chain together a lot of spells. Lightning Bolt, everyone's aware of. 1 cost, deal 3 damage. So this is the idea of the deck. I hope you guys like this content and you got a kick out of my ideas and some of the interesting and different cards I'm using. I'd like and subscribe if you would, and thanks for swinging by. Catch you on the next one.